Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Rao. Today happened to be December 1st, celebrated as the birthday of Bhagavad Gita thousands of years ago, right? So it's still remembered. And this is the day when Krishna taught Bhagavad Gita or sang the song of wisdom. You see, it is mistaken as a religious or belongs to Hindu culture, not that. But it was there, born. But then Hindus themselves own it, but they own it in the real sense that they live it. For me, what is meaningful is not associating some kind of mere association with a culture, with a faith, but it's about human life anywhere in the world. What we are made of, what are we essentially are, and what we are not. And how is that we kind of lost our real identity, that we are the awareness, or we are the soul, we are the energy, we are the divinity, whatever you name it, that's basically what it is. We are conscious, we are aware, right? And then anywhere, life in America, life in South America, life in Canada, anywhere, human beings are human beings. Life is life. It is there in the birds, it is in the trees, in the rivers, and all that, right? So we see that, and then we don't really live it. We don't identify with what we really are, or we don't recognize who we are, and then we kind of go through the life in a way that kind of suffering, maybe occasional joy and pleasure, but otherwise mainly dragged by the uh, weight of life, right? That is really true. That is happening. So this man who was in the middle of a battle way back 2000, 3000 years ago, or so many more, I don't know. But then they say several thousands of years ago, there was a battle between the cousins, and this particular warrior was primed to a condition, trained all his life for these encounters in the war on that day. But when he comes to the war, he sees all his grandpas or his teachers or his brothers, everybody lined up to be killed by him. And he doesn't want to really fight that, and he loses his nerve basically and collapses completely out of it, right? Then Krishna tells him what is life, what is what, where we are, why we feel the way we feel, why we suffer the way we suffer, what is the right way to live, not according to such a scripture, but according to the nature, according to the life as it is. Okay, so this is viewed more like a manual for life. You go and buy something in the store, and they give you a manual with it, so that you can operate that particular thing better, knowing how it works. What are the things to be done to assemble that? What are the things you need? How do you do one step at a time? So for the mechanical outward life, all these manuals are very useful. Okay, best practices, know-how, and all that. But then when it comes to a human being, first of all, knowing who we are, and then going about life with all the things that come at us. It could be like some accident or some disease or some good things. All those things come, right? And usually we live by instinct and reflex, and that may lead more suffering. And so human beings want to look at various philosophies, various ways of life, and that was prescribed by the scriptures, and then follow them. But this particular thing is not like that. It is supposed to be a battleground within you, and how you are equipping yourself to deal with the battle. Suppose you pick anger, suppose you are rage, suppose you are really jealous of somebody, or suppose you are really striving to know what is your place, how is that you going to go about it. This is the battleground that is addressed even today by the wisdom of this book. You don't have to be a particular religion. You don't see that as a Hindu text. You see it more like a manual of life that is pointed out, and you apply your own uh, susceptibility for the new knowledge, and then experimenting that new knowledge in the circumstance, and then really identifying uh, whether it is working or not. So my journey with this Gita was, I was never introduced in India like this is a book that you could learn about life, about situations in life, about how you go about life, understanding the um, natural things that they pointed are there. Okay, so it's like I never really studied the book in its entirety or anything. Nobody really talked to us in our education. And maybe you go to the temple, they will be playing, or one thing that they always did was, somebody died, then they will play this Gita. But it's not about death only, it's about how to live here and now, and also really free of your ego, free of your suffering, and joyful, really enlightened existence of a human being. There's a light that's showing you from within, and identifying with the light is all about. And so, my own journey, I will tell you a little later. Let me tell you some more things that happened to me that influenced me to look at this. One of the things was when I first came to this country, I was uprooted from a culture to this culture, and then that was heartful. Didn't ask you anything, just be, and then you are loved, and just be that you are accepted. Just be yourself. Okay, so I was very loved, very accepted, very much given the warmth and friendship of so many people. My mother first, and then the family, then around. We had problems too, but generally I was leaned more towards this inner exploration, and that I don't know how it happened. It happened. Okay, so uh, that was there. But then they didn't really tell me the significance of this Bhagavad Gita or other things that were going on, like they are valuable lessons in life. Not reading, not bookish knowledge. It's about pointing out something naturally happening in our lives, and how to really resolve them with know-how, with understanding, with real uh, wisdom that is seen in life, not accumulative mind and then just keeping on it. We can do that. So I was in my 80s and I was under tremendous stress. Then I had good friends in Philadelphia. Both are those are older than me. They have already done several years of work here. They were psychiatrists. So I went to them, and then I stayed with them for extended time, so that I can really be with the friends that are real friends, that are real wanting valuation of other. Then he, or my friend, he recorded a beautiful rendering of Yesudas. He's a good singer. I love his voice and all that. And so he actually made a tape for me. See, we didn't even want to buy the new original tape, and he made a tape for me, recorded that for me on his system, and gave that to me as a gift. So I began to listen to that, and it sounded beautiful. The Sanskrit, the music, the voice, everything is beautiful. I just enjoyed just listening to it. I don't know a thing about it. I don't know a word about it. Okay. And that went on for thousands of times, for several years. But no difference in my life except that I have a good experience of listening. Then I began to read or listen to it as I doing the treadmill exercise. On my phone, this recording is there, and also on my phone, this manual of Bhagavad Gita in my native language, Telugu, is there. But these verses he was singing are not continuous. They are only from this chapter 2, and they are in a different order. We have to find out 22 it begins, 27 it goes to 35 like that. I had to manually mark down which verses he is singing and what is their meaning written in my language, Telugu. So I was playing it this time, listening this time, but also going to that particular verse and then reading the meaning and understanding what they are talking about. Right? So that made all the difference. The next step was somebody was talking about it and they said, you should really live what it is because Gandhi did this like that. So Mahatma Gandhi was a beloved figure in India, and as a child I was introduced to him. He already passed away by the time I was born, but I was listening to his exploits in the freedom fighting against the Britishers and his attitude towards the people, his non-violence, his speaking the truth, all those things. Then I was introduced to a story of Mahatma Gandhi with Bhagavad Gita. He was in South Africa at the age of 27. He was a practicing lawyer. So he happened to meet some Europeans coming to visit, or he went there, I don't know. But then I think he went to Paris, I think, and he met these Europeans. One of the Europeans was very enamored and influenced by the Bhagavad Gita. By the way, the founding fathers of USA also are enormously influenced by Bhagavad Gita. We'll come to that later. Okay, I have published articles on that. What the all these founding fathers of America, some of them have taken it up and then said what they quoted and how they used that and all that. So the European man is talking to Mahatma Gandhi and asked him, I assume that you have read this Bhagavad Gita and you know about it. And like me, Gandhi also never was exposed to that. So he says, no, I didn't I read that book. Then immediately the European gets really annoyed with him and then yells at him. No, you should be reading this before you talk to anything else. Go and read it, not like a Hindu, not like an Indian, but like a human being. Okay, and so Gandhi was a sincere man, and then he did not take it as a insult to his ego or anything. He went and said, "This great man is pointing out this is a very good one, so let me start reading." And then he became the companion for him, and he was always carrying it in his hand. And he said something very remarkable. This book has got so much of wisdom, but that is not conveyed to the ordinary man. Okay, so he said, every time a situation is happening in my life, political, societal, or my family, or anything that happens, I found answers in this book. Wisdom. Okay, so he found that. And then he said, this is a reference book for me for my life, how I live my life, how I act in such situations, how I really nurture myself from within, all that, right? So it has become a reference. And then he went on to write a book called Bhagavad Gita for Common Man. Because elite people, elite cultures, people, intellectuals, or great institutions, they viewed this book with reverence and with real understanding, and then they kind of found the value, right? So he was using it as a reference for his human life of emotions, thoughts, or conclusions, whatever. Then he began to tell people, look, You all think I'm a freedom fighter. Yeah, I do. I do stand up for the freedom of India, and I'm going to stand against the injustice British are doing to Indians. But I'm not going to hate Indians or Britishers, because Britishers are my brethren. We are all in the same soul. So that's why he never allowed himself to be hateful or anything like that. So he was carrying this by like a book in hand, not just as a symbol, as something that you should be proud of. No, it's more like a guide, manual for life. That is that important, I think. Once you enter into ancient wisdom, you will find an Indian way of Vedas. And essence of Vedas are Upanishads. Essence of Upanishads are in the Bhagavad Gita. It comes out like that. Upanishads Saramsa. Okay. So people had this method of listening and then reflecting on what you listened, and then allowing the truth come into their place, into their life. Shravanam, Mananam, Nidhityasana. It can be from the Bible, it can be from the Quran, it can be from the Bhagavad Gita. For me, there's no difference. They're all books of truth, pointing out certain facts or real truths in our life. And when we really listen and apply them, we are well off. It doesn't matter just to only today happen to be Gita's Jayanti, that's why I'm talking about that. But if you look at it, any religious text or spiritual text is like that. Okay, so why it has influenced me is because it really helped me to understand human life in a deeper perspective. Many people view this book as very reverential, so they put it in their room where they are worshipping the god, and this also becomes a god in the sense, but they don't know anything about the meaning. And as such, they cannot bring it into their own life, right? So that is what is, I consider Bhagavad Gita more like a manual for modern life, modern human life. I found relevance as a physician, as an informatician, as a wellness proponent. I thought this is a very good book for learning the lessons. You don't have to go and read it again, but then just understand the lesson and then apply that in your life. So then I began to not only study this that way, but also I was really exploring what is Ramana Maharshi was saying about this. He is somebody who had attained self-realization, knowing who you are, by himself at the age of 16 or 17, right? And then he really establishes the inner substratum of ours, that our inner being, and his body and mind were looked at separate from him, and he was always in that intense awareness of who we are, right? And he never left that from them. And he himself commented on such a thing, but he did not elevate them like, this is the only one you should do. He said, somebody came to him, and he happened to come from my own state, from Telugu state in India, Andhra Pradesh. And this man came to Ramana Maharshi, appreciated him. A lot of people who are deep into exploration of life went to him and found lessons in his silence, emanated from his silent being. Can you believe that? Young children, 7, 8, something like that, even lower than that, they walked up this hill. He used to stay in the hill, right? They walked up the hill and sat in front of him in silence for hours and hours. Can you believe that? Modern class of children sitting down in front of a person who is not talking, who is not saying anything, just there, but his silence has such an influence on their mind They are calm. They were happy to be blissfully present there. That's actually happened, So he came, all these people came to him because they wanted solutions to life. They wanted to understand what does the ancient wisdom is conveying to us. So this man from my state comes to Ramana Maharshi, who is in Tamil Nadu, is way south state too, and then it's very difficult to go to his place. Okay, but he goes there and tells them, Swami, I have this Bhagavad Gita book, but it has 720 verses in it. And I'm a busy man. I work all day and I don't have the patience also. Can you tell me what are the essential uh, uh, verses? What are the really meaningful ones? What is that I can get the message from if I spend a little bit of time? Then Ramana Maharshi sat down and then compiled. Actually, he always said, don't read books, but then explore. But then you can use the book to explore yourself. That's what he was saying. But he said, okay, I'm going to tell you what are the essential, okay, 28, 29, something like that, verses came up. And then he gave them, okay, go to, these are compiled not according to the chapter or the occurrence, but according to the philosophy they're supposed to convey, and then we want to understand. So he gives him that, right? And then the man says, oh my God, even 29 are too much for me. Can you make one particular sentence, one particular verse that I could read and I could get the essence of this Bhagavad Gita wisdom? Okay. And then I said, okay, there's one verse that is in chapter 10, 20 verse, number 20. That says, I am the divine force that is in the hearts of all human beings. I'm the beginning of that life. I maintain that life, middle of it, and then I end the life and I go away from there. But the essence is there is a life force that gives life to all, and that stays in our heart for the lifetime, and then when it goes away, we lose the life. But that life goes and takes another form, and that's why the life force itself is permanent, is pervasive, is everlasting. And that is the sloka that says, I am the divine force that is there in all of that. Okay? But you don't give it a name, you don't give it a shape, and then worship only this shape and name, or that is what the religions did. They took the concept of the essence of oneness of all and then made it parochial, like their own thing. And this is only truth against him. But then he comes up. Pandita, the one who is really wise about this, they realize people have so many paths, but there is only one truth, either in the Bible, either in the Gita, or in the Quran, or those are all instruments. But then essential life force is only one, and it's always there. And we may change uh, the name and shape that we give to a human body, but then we are not limited by it, right? So that's why that particular sentence is very important. And actually, Vedas have the essence of them in Upanishads. Upanishads' essence is in Bhagavad Gita. And that is why it's a manual for human life anywhere now. So, what I look at it is not only just an ancient text, it's a living guide to have clarity about life, have the courage because I'm going to be lasting forever, and have the discipline towards what is important, what is not, and basically purposeful living in our chaotic modern world. Say it written, they say 5,000 years ago. Its teachings, they resonate more powerfully today than ever before. Say in this age of constant distraction, information overload, and endless demands on our attention, the Gita offers a path to inner stability and meaningful action. You don't have to be a Hindu. I'm not a Hindu. I don't identify with that. I don't identify with the rituals and all that. But then I take the wisdom from that, from Christianity, from Islam, anything, Jain or Jewish, anything like that, right? But this Bhagavad Gita, when you're reading it, don't read like a book, but look at the battlefield that's going on within you. See, when that warrior paralyzed on the battlefield, it actually mirrors our daily struggles, careers across the world. Okay? It could be our daily struggles, it could be career crossroads, or relationship conflicts, or ethical dilemmas, or emotional overwhelm. We're going to experience all this. So that warrior confusion is our confusion the same. Okay? So like him, we face moments where we don't know which path to choose, right? We always were duty conflicts with the desire. I want to do this, but I don't desire it. Where the right action is not clear, at least. See, this Gita speaks directly to those modern predicaments. There are so many predicaments in the modern life that I see the consequence of that. Okay, so that's why I kind of take this serious, and I thought I should give the message of why a modern physician like me and who has a scientific background is looking at these things as a solution for our common daily problems. Okay, when we do that, that becomes really important. Okay, consider like that a manual for human life, looking at the battlefield within for solutions that are needed in this modern time. Okay, if you can do that, then you will be able to do that. Okay, and then after reading that, then I began to really look at any uh, writings, anything that I read. I look for the meaning and look for more. Am I really bringing this into my life? Then it became a habit. It became something that you could learn, and then also, first of all, you remain immune to the suffering of the world. Not because you are throwing away, but because you have transcended. You understood. You kind of really know how to navigate that. Okay, you can navigate in the boat, in the life of river, without allowing the water come into your boat. I hope that makes sense to you. So look for this talk, which is going to be from my heart to you all, with love and with concern for the suffering people are going through. And you don't need to suffer as a human being. You can transcend, but also you can bring out the bliss that is there in human life, happiness that is there in your heart, and peace that is experienced in your heart. So that is the offering that I wanted to give you all. And I thought, because this is a special day, I would celebrate this by engaging people. If you have any understanding or really interest in this book, you can always talk to me, and I will give my experience of the situation. That's how the thing blessing became was as people came, because they are suffering, physical, mental, or these conflicting situations and all that. Or even a friend like Peter, he is worrying about his mind operations or his thing. Then, as I live through this truth, as I express them, as I see them, not for the show, but for the real meaning and important, not only Peter, so many other people also have come for different things. Somebody's, close ones died. Somebody's uh, career was ruined, or business was ruined, or any number of situations like that. It seems like we don't have to succumb to the to the to the thing that we really feel. Okay, so it's more like a lack of understanding that we have, and There is a great pointing out in the Yoga Bible, Patanjali Yoga Sutras. He talks about what are the five kleshas that we have. Kleshas means reasons for suffering in our own mind. The first one was about ignorance of who we are. Out of that ignorance, that we are just this body and mind, but not really identifying the inner life force that we have. That is the divine self we talk about. That is the one is not created by me, it is there, and that is giving me the life. Okay. You cannot say I gave you life, right? You cannot say I created life. Life is there and it is in us, and that we are going on. So once you identify that life force is you, your divinity or your inner self or whatever, then you will be able to really stay with the ones that matters, which is the life force. But manifestation of the life force is the body and mind, and you will treat them and deal with them with not with the fear, not with some kind of force, but more like a understanding. They are my instrument. I need to buy it. So, for example, you have a car that you are going to take it to be useful. If you maintain it, if you really take care of it, if you understand more about it, then can last for years, right? Years and years it can serve you. Like that, you got to take care of the body and the mind. That will take you the journey of this uh, lifetime, right? And then you won't dread, you won't fear, but you will face them as they come. And also, you will eventually accept what is going on here. Why, why I don't see that, you know? So that kind of understanding really frees your mind to really be in the present and face as they happen, and then live a life that is not really lived in fear or confusion or really suffering, right? That is the essence of this. Okay. So, anybody has anything to say about this? We can also do our morning routine, but I thought this is an important day, so I will introduce you to that, and then you can always do the morning routine from my. It's important to do that, to prepare our body for energy that we need to do our duties. In the second chapter of this, if you read one chapter, second chapter is the one which is a commentary of what he is talking about in three parts. First one is realize you are not just the body mind, you are the inner divine self or the energy or the life force, whatever you call it, consciousness and all. Once you are established that, then you see everything else is happening is a manifestation of that force, and that's why you kind of live life beautifully. Then second thing he talks about is, suppose you are working and you are doing stuff, can you do that without expectation? That is karma yoga, action yoga. Whatever you act, you do it in the sense of I am this inner being as a part of the universal consciousness. Once you are established in yoga like that, staying in that, yogastha kuru karmani. That means once you establish yourself in the yogi state of realizing I'm that inner divinity, that's part of all the divinity that gives us life. Okay. So once you realize and stay in there, then you do whatever you want. Then you don't want to really want anything from it. Just by doing and then helping people, that itself becomes your real satisfaction for you. That is the description of how people should live, how they should work. Okay, this was helpful for physicians at COVID time because they were trying to save people. They could not. People are dying like flies, and there are 1,000 deaths in New York hospital. Then we introduced that into those hospitals, and then by writing, So and then I'm asking them to understand life is permanent. Only the manifestations of body, mind, like our clothes, we change the clothes each year, And also, if it has to go, you don't have to weep like they are going forever. They will come back in another form later on. That kind of solace, that kind of permanency of life. Life is permanent. Grass may go down today, but then next time a season, grass comes up. Life is like that. Okay. So once you understand that truth and really assimilate that within you, then it'll be much easier to live the life, but also to accept ending of the life too, because it is going to continue. So those kind of fears are not there, right? Then once you understand who you are and why you are having the purpose of really realizing that as our purpose, everything else falls into organization. Okay, you deal with the mind, you deal with the body as it is encountering the problems, not complicating by staying in the mind. That is the problem with what I was pointing out yesterday. You have to determine yourself. Am I stuck in my mind? Am I always thinking, thinking, thinking? Or am I taking a break and then resting in my being? That being is elevated. Atmanne Atmanao, he said in Bhagavad Gita. That means elevate your own self into that everlasting, pervasive soul or life energy or consciousness. I mean, different names are given, but basically that divine self happens not because of you, but because of something that is divine, that is giving us life all the time, right? So once you are there, then you encounter so many problems in the body, in the mind, in the society, in relationship, all that. Then you can stand aside from them and look at them, and then the manual provides you how to deal with them. Okay, so it's a question of lifelong study. It's a question of being aware of these kind of wisdoms are prevalent in books, in Bible, in Islam, in Quran, in India, the Bhagavad Gita, all that. But how many people are really looking at that way? You know, how many people are really transcending ego and suffering? How many people are naturally happy from within themselves, joyfully happy from within themselves, peaceful within themselves, contented with what they are? I am very happy for being a human being with that kind of intelligence that everybody has, and I just awakened it, and I'm moving by that awakened intelligence directing me in my life. Not some sayings, or not some tellings. Or people may talk about a lot of things. The question for them is not to prove to anybody else, not to get approval from anybody else, but are you really peaceful? Are you really joyful just because you are a human being? Are you having the clarity of mind so you can see things as they present it? These are personal, deep questions. You don't have to tell anybody. You question yourself. And then look at this kind of material with that clarity, with that presence, with that inner conviction. Then this becomes solution to the battlegrounds that are going on within you, the conflicts that are going on within you. So in that way, remembering Gita on this day is special for me. Actually, the more I talk about these things, they become my, habit of recollecting this wisdom imbibed. But my thing is not about just talking. It's not about just saying these things are great. Am I doing it during the day? That is my personal challenge, right? So that's what I want to live by. So listen, Shravanam, Mananam, reflection, and then once I reflect on them and accept the truth, Nidhityas, allowing that to manifest in my life. Okay? So this is a way we can approach any wisdom from the ancients. And then the deeper you go to these workings, the more meaningful they become. I was introduced to so many, and the simplicity with which they bring the sages, because they don't have any airs about them. They are compassionate human beings that want to relieve suffering. That is the love that they display. So if you are open to it, then you will learn a lot and bring that into your life. Don't be glib about it. Don't be articulate about it. That's all okay. But then be sincere to the message that you learned. The truth that you perceived is operating in your life. Modern life has a lot of problems. Okay? No concentration, poor attention, conflicts, relationship conflicts, no real sense of love, no real sense of assurance within yourself that you are having the most powerful thing, the life force is within us. Okay, if you do that, yeah, that will be good. Okay, so the Gita matters today because of all these problems we have. Any wisdom, from modern or ancient, it's a wisdom. If it's put on the bookshelf, it's not going to be useful for you. But if you allow it to happen and put your ego aside and then really accept what is to be learned and then bring it to your course. So anybody has any comments or anything that you want to talk about, you can come up and tell me that. And so, like I said, I have an appointment later. So after that is done, I will around 11:30, maybe I'll do a full talk on this with the presentation and everything. And that way you really know what I'm talking about. You really understand what I'm talking about. And you examine that after you listen to that. And then you go into exploration of that. And then once you learn the truth, just to see whether you are sincerely applying it in your life. And you will be better off because of that. Okay, you have a clear mind, you have a joyful mind, you have a beautiful body and strong body, and also you go through the life of interacting, or even I'm interacting with you with a sense of conveying the wisdom and how to be using how I took that journey for years since 1983 was the one when my friend gave me that for several years I was only listening. I was not really knowing what it is because I saw the beauty of not just listening, but listening and understanding and applying it. That took some journey. Okay, so I'm not saying it happened just like that. No, see, in the suffering in the form of illnesses, chronic illnesses, in the form of so much disruption of relationships and sorrow from it, and missing out on the inner bliss we have. And that's a major thing. That's so very surprising to me because we were raised to go and do work and go and get sense and then be happy with that. But what the ancient people are saying, hey, okay, you can do all that without expecting anything because you already have this abundance within you. That is the real surprising thing. Turning inward, paying attention to what is going on, and being in touch with the abundance that all of us have. That's that's the difference for me. And those people are really naturally well. They eat because they are hungry, but they don't eat it for pleasure or taste and all that. They may enjoy them, but they don't crave for them because what is craving, what is having all these habits is the mind. And I'm not the mind, I have the mind. Then I could operate on that, take a breath, take some moment and look at that and let it go. That's the best way to get out of the addictions, whatever addictions. Okay, because we didn't do the morning routine, I have plenty of time to talk to you on this topic, So, so once again, I'll be brief. Gita Jayanti. This matters because we need a manual for human life. Not only this, any ancient workings will be not like a book, but like a manual for life. And then, because of the battles within us, we want to see that. Okay, so the first teaching is step back from the chaos, whatever you have in life. So you create a space between that stimulus and your response, and then breathe. Return to the present moment through conscious awareness of your breath. Right? Then you can see clearly. Observe the situation without the distortion of fear or attachment. That is the Sita Prajna. And then act with awareness. Move forward from a place of clarity, not from fear or impulse. So the Karma Yoga, act the path of purposeful action, not for the benefits, not for the ego. That is the problem with the Western culture influencing all cultures around the world. Right? So act without attachment. Karma Yoga teaches us to perform our duties with full dedication while releasing our grip on outcome. This doesn't mean we don't care about results. It means we don't let anxiety about results paralyze our action. Very important to understand that. You can karma kausalam. That means skill in action is important, but not the output of that. Because you're already filled with awareness. If you don't have this, then you'll go for it. Okay, you don't even seek all the approval or fulfillment from outside because you already have it within you. First, you have to get into that. Okay, so act without attachment and serve without expectation. When we act from a place of service rather than some transaction that we want out of it. So you are providing a service. Work becomes more meaningful this way. We contribute our best effort without keeping score. Okay? Without constant education of what we will receive in return. That's the problem with modern working conditions. So, other thing is they beat people about having the passion about work and all that. That's a lot of pressure. But what this teaches is let purpose, larger purpose drive you. Dharma. That is useful for everybody. I'm going to work for the wellness of everybody. Then I don't have to look for something for me. I'm looking for the wellness of everybody. So that larger purpose is my drive. Not the pressure that you got to do this. You have to, no, I am retired from those pressure. But then still help a lot of people live much more holistically now, provided they listen and then they examine and they apply them. One of the things is, how do you master your mind? Mind as a tool. Your mind is a powerful instrument. But it's not who you are. You have a mind, right? If you recognize this mind as a tool, all the technology, all the AI, everything that is only a tool for you. That recognition of that creates freedom. Otherwise, you are stuck in the mind. That's what I was talking about the other day. Many of the people I see are stuck in their mind, but they are not able to distance from it and use it. Awareness leads. See, when awareness guides us, thoughts become separate from rather than masters. The thought doesn't become the master for you, but it becomes separate from you. You choose which thoughts to follow. Be in awareness and use thoughts as instruments. And once you know your purpose and you're working for your purpose, which is to realize yourself, That discipline brings freedom. See, inner discipline isn't a restriction, like you have to do that, you do. No, it is liberation from the tyranny of impulse and reaction. You have a purpose, you are set on that. You don't need impulse behavior or something from outside and react from it. Okay? So, the Gita teaches us that an untrained mind creates suffering. With a disciplined mind, because knowing what is what, then disciplined mind becomes our greatest ally. If you have purpose, you want to go that way, you are only doing what is needed to go there, not all the other things that you don't have any control over, or also you don't have to. Through consistent practice, we develop the capacity to observe our thoughts. That's what I tell you in the morning routine, right? Observe your thoughts without being controlled by them. That's the important thing that you want to do. Right now, are you controlled by your thoughts, or your thoughts are following your inner purpose? When you have purpose, you have an organized mind. And then organized mind goes in the direction that you want. And also, other important thing that we could learn from this Bhagavad Gita is we are all having the same life force within us. That is the most important verse, chapter 10, 20. That means we are all one in that life force. And we can have compassion to other people because I am him. I am my neighbor. That kind of thing is there in Christianity. So I am the self seated in the heart of all beings. Chapter 10, 20. Seeing the divine in all, and then you transform the relationship. Not looking at to separate. This seeing the divine in all in this verse, that reveals a profound truth. The same consciousness that animates you also lives in every person that you encounter. So your colleagues, your family member, the stranger on the street, everybody, all carry the same divine essence. That's what that also means, right? So that transforms the relationship. When we truly internalize the teaching, our relationships transform, conflicts become opportunities for understanding. Differences become expression of the same underlying unity. And compassion arises naturally. I don't have to identify them with anything. So, and when you do this karma yoga, and karma yoga as the daily discipline, because you have already organized your mind, you have moderation in living. That helps the planet also. You have moderation in living means balance in sleep, food, work, and rest. Extreme drain energy, that is modern way sustains that extreme drain of energy will not be there. Moderation living is very simple, minimalism, right? That helps the planet also. Then second part is you have a steadiness in the emotions. Cultivating equanimity through life's ups and downs. Not suppressing emotion, okay? But not being swept away by them. You are not swept away by them, or you are really suppressing them. So you witness your feelings without identification. And then you respond rather than react. Reaction is the emotional reaction. Because you have equanimity for both, good and bad, and all that. That's the sthita pragnata that Bhagavad Gita talks about. The person who is stabilized in his wisdom, okay, he doesn't react, he will respond without emotional lability. And then one of the important things we talk about here is the breath awareness. Okay, the breath is the bridge between the body and mind. So conscious breathing, that is the deep conscious breathing, anchors us in the present moment. So simple breathwork practice, calming the nervous system, that's the main thing. And it's a gateway to meditation. That's why you always start with Vipassana, which is just focusing on the breath. I may use it throughout the hour, but that is the idea. Calm your nervous system so that when you go out, you don't react, but you respond to things with equanimity. You are not burnt out by it, but you are happily and handling it. So it's a right effort. Find it a sweet spot between laziness and strain. Consistent, sustainable practice over time, training, right? Daily small steps. Patience with progress, not asking, oh, I have to achieve it this time, this in this particular time period. No. Commitment, but without force. Okay, modern way of saying, oh, you got to be passionate, you got to be, all that is leading to a lot of burnout. People are not enjoying their work anymore. So how is this applied to the modern professionals, for physicians, for leaders, for youth? I'm going to explore more on that when we meet next time. Okay, so when you live this teaching, you have compassion in action, strength in unity, that we are all one, and daily practice incrementally. Okay, so all actions are offered to the spirit of awareness and service. Okay, then you will be celebrating Gita or lessons in your own practical way. Hope that makes sense for you guys. You can come up and tell me whether this makes any impact and value to you or not. See, my karma yoga is come and express myself and share what I think is. I do see a lot of suffering, like I told you. Even now, people are really suffering because they don't have any idea about who they are, and they don't have the passion for it, and also dispassion for what you are not, and they don't cultivate their mind and senses so that they will turn towards the inner spirit, inner spiritual nature of yours, inner life force, and they don't have the curiosity about it. They are curious about doing stuff and expecting those things to come to them and give them happiness. You may be pleasing for a while, but it's not the permanently lasting bliss that you could achieve by realizing who you really are. That one sentence, chapter 10, verse 20, tells you that it is there within you. The abundance is there within you. Not your egoic assertion, not your identification with your name and fame and all that, but your essence, human beingness. Okay? I am sense. So, with that, I will conclude this session, and I'll be back again around 11:30 my time. It depends on how my appointment at 9:40 goes, and it depends on, I go by the need rather than just the time factor. So that makes impact. Even if I talk to them one time, I just want to really spend quality time, not being dictated by others. That's why I seem to have time for everything. But basically, I don't restrict people to a certain time period. They can They can have me as long as they want to talk about it, to find things, and then to help them really have the clarity in their own mind to see things as they are in their present moment. Once we kind of explore together, and it's not like a preaching from me, but it's more like a light thrown on a path that you have to travel. And the more you travel, the more you realize that I have really seen what is needed. Seeing it clearly is the action itself. Okay, so thank you, and I'll see you again after 11. Bye bye.